Hello and welcome to today's episode of The Drawing Board. My name is David Franklin. I'm your host, and thank you so much for tuning in today. And as promised, if you watched last week's video talking about what is attractive to women about men, today we're going to be sort of flipping that around. We're going to be talking what is sexy to men about women. And I guess we'll just go ahead and jump in. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say something that's fairly primitive and not very evolved, but looks do matter. Not just for women, but for men. Honestly, looks do matter, and that's unavoidable. And I think people who say that they don't are being dishonest with themselves. So looks do matter, and particularly for men, as unfair as it is, looks are a big part of what makes you attractive. However, I'd like to say looks are very subjective still. I'll go into science, of course, because that's what I do. But I guess I'll talk about one of my friends. I have two of my friends who I'll say something like, oh, yeah, there's this girl and she looked like whatever. And one of my friends, the first thing he says is, did she have big lips? And I'm like that's something he's attracted to. But I'm like, it's not even on my radar. I have no idea. I don't remember what this girl's lips looked like. And that's not to say like I wasn't looking at her face sort of thing. I make very good eye contact and I pay a lot of attention to eyes, but I don't usually pay attention to lips. It's not a thing to me. So looks are subjective. I guess that's my point. So from a scientific perspective, let's, because it's such a big deal, let's talk about weight. You could be super, super thin, you could be athletic, you could be sort of muscly, you could be a little bit, not overweight, just not like that, like Victoria's Secret Twiggy thing. I mean, I don't want to say that because I think everyone can have their own body style and can be healthy in that place. I was just saying that. So maybe a little bit more curvy, and then seriously, like genuine obesity down over here. Genuine obesity is attractive to people, and not to everyone, but what is attractive is so subjective. It's subjective based on culture. It's subjective based on individual. So the reason why that weight thing is there is because someone who's usually thinner and more athletic, that's going to show that you're more capable of going out and getting food for yourself. However, if you're a little bit more curvy, or you are way more towards the end of the spectrum, you are actually getting towards the fat, obese sort of thing, that is also in its own right can be attractive and actually an advantage from an evolutionary perspective, because if you're eating enough, your children are probably going to eat enough, and your children's children, like let's say you're a queen or a king, and you're able to just say, I don't have to go get my own food because the peasants will go do it for me. You and your descendants will eat because you're royalty. So in their own way, that is attractive. So looks are very subjective, and even if they are important, it depends per person, what they're looking for. So, unfortunately, I'm not giving you very many good answers. So, I guess I'll go to intelligence now. Two of the big things that I think that are, from what I've seen in psychology journals and things like that, are intelligence and health. Whether that's weight or how you look physically, those are two really big insecurities for women, and I suppose for men in their own right. So, I'll just start with intelligence. Yeah, what I mean by that is I've heard a lot of women say guys want girls who look stupid or who act stupid. And that is just simply not true all of the time. So what I mean by that is, generally speaking, from a scientific perspective, from a long-term relationship, not a short-term fling, from a long-term relationship, what you are looking for in a mate in terms of intelligence is usually that they be on an equal level or relatively equal level of intelligence as you are. So, if you're a girl, or a guy, I suppose, but we'll keep going with this episode. I'm assuming you're a woman if you're watching this, or you're a regular subscriber of mine. If you are a woman and you think that a guy wants you to be dumber than you are, if you're looking for a casual fling, my usual advice is to tell you to be proud of yourself and not change who you are. But I mean, if you want to act a certain way, that's up to you, and that could work. However, from a long-term perspective, my advice is screw that person, because generally speaking, you want someone who's around your same intelligence level. So if they're wanting you to be dumb because they aren't as smart as you, find someone new, because that's not going to be a successful relationship for you, and neither of you are going to be happy, and it's not going to go the distance. So don't worry about that. Another thing that I read is that guys like girls who are blonde because they are less intelligent. And so certainly the cultural or social perspective of that is there, that blondes aren't as intelligent, but from a scientific perspective, there's like no evidence that that is true, like literally none. However, what being blonde can show is, because your hair is usually lighter when you're younger, that having blonde hair is a sign of youthfulness. And unfortunately, again, being young is usually more attractive, or younger, or maybe not age, let's say youthfulness. So being blonde can help with that. And that's not to say that the perversion is okay, like a 50-year-old man dating a 15-year-old girl, but someone whose body is more fertile, or more fit. I could see how that would be an evolutionary advantage for the average person. But the intelligence thing might be a social thing, but it's definitely not like natural as far as the evidence we currently have goes. So health, back to health and looks in general. Eat or don't eat, we talked about that. Weight and body style is totally subjective, whether you're thick or thin, whether you work out or you don't. That's all relative. However, I did just read in a Facebook post this morning, was talking about muscle shaming, women who were, getting a little bit bulkier, that they were being called manly. And I can see how some women, depending on like what they're going for, like bodybuilders, I could see how that would be seen as being unnatural or unattractive, particularly only around showtime. And what I mean by that is, women generally, your body fat can't go anywhere near as low as men's can, healthily. And in shows, women bodybuilders get pretty close, and generally being unhealthy is usually fairly unattractive. However, from a health perspective, eating good food, I would say health is not starving. So if you need to eat as many calories as you need to feel okay every day, that's all right, or as much volume. But make sure you check your macronutrients. There's a lot of great apps out there that you can check how many grams of protein, how many carbohydrates, how many fats you're getting, and then compare all your calories. And I think that's a good thing to do. Check what you're putting in. If you're putting in a lot of like fatty, greasy meats, or crappy grains, or if you're putting in like whole grains or lean meats or whatever you're putting in. And then working out is also good. I'm not saying anyone needs to starve themselves, or that if you have a certain body style naturally, because genetics do play a role, they do. But if you have a certain body style, on either end of the spectrum, and you're trying to get closer to the middle, as long as you're taking care of yourself, it doesn't matter honestly what your body wants to do. But I think it's good to go and work out. And if you're afraid of lifting some weights, don't be. You might get a little bit bigger, but the female body is just not designed to bulk up like one of the Hemsworth, I can't remember which one, is Thor or Dwayne Johnson. Like, your body is not designed to do that. It's not designed at all. I work out fairly regularly, and like, my arms aren't huge. They're not huge, but I can bicep curl maybe, or super like muscly. Look, like they're fairly reasonably cut. They're not super muscly. If I do that I can like get a little bit of a tricep flex going, but I can bicep curl like 100 pounds altogether, not one-armed. And that's how big I've gotten. So if you're worried about bicep curling or lifting anything, really, and you're afraid you're going to get really muscly or really big or really defined, it's just not going to happen. That's how I look, and I'm at a like 10% body fat. And women usually, not just from like how they treat themselves, their bodies aren't designed to go as low in body fat as mine is. So you're not going to look as like cut as I do, and I'm not even that cut because I haven't been working out a whole lot recently. But what I'm saying is, if you want to eat healthy, go ahead and do it. If you want to go to the gym, go ahead and do it. Don't be afraid of getting too muscly, because the only way that's going to happen is if you're taking steroids. Honestly, you can get like looking fit and looking strong, but if you're afraid of looking like Dwayne Johnson or something, like it's literally never going to happen for a woman without steroids or testosterone supplements or whatever. So, anyways, I gave you a lot of this is an assumption, but it's not all that this is an assumption about what is attractive, but it's more or less untrue. So what is attractive? I gave you a couple of those last week, and really one of the only things that seems to be fairly universal, optimism, smiling, confidence, this sort of like happy-go-lucky demeanor. That's usually attractive. Smiles, like when rated on a 0 to 10 scale, men and women were usually rating women who smiled more as being more attractive. And maybe because that's in human culture, men are supposed to prove themselves to women, and women can either turn down their advances or welcome their advances. And a smile could be seen as welcoming to men, but that's a possibility, but also possibly not. We really don't have a good evolutionary reason behind it. I mean, yeah, happiness is, in a long-term relationship, happiness will make you more happy, but it's just not a good enough evolutionary reason, considering that's actually not the truth for men. Men, usually when they're brooding or show pride, is more attractive, just rated by random strangers, than a smiling face. So it's all subjective, really, is what both of these videos have been about. Be confident in who you are. Find someone who's on your scale, your intelligence level, your health level, who likes you for who you are. That does not mean you can't take strides to be healthier or to, bolster your personality a little bit, but that does not mean that you change who you are as a human being. So I hope both of these videos have helped and kind of put some perspective on things. But anyways, we'll be back in a couple of days. I believe I was going to do another video on gender. I don't remember what it was right now, but I'll be back in a couple of days with another video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know a lot of you have said that you really liked the video and you think that the channel deserves more subscribers. I don't know about deserves more subscribers, but if you do feel that way and you really are liking the videos, if you do give the video a like and a share, hit the thumbs up button and spread it around to some friends on Facebook or something like that, or just show them the channel in general. That does help get the word out. It does help me go up in the rankings so more people can find me. So if you do feel that way, please like and share. I appreciate that very much, and thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple of days. See you guys.